Welcome back to Ask Cozy Grammar. This is Thomas, and our second question today comes from Columbus, Ohio, and that's wonderful. I actually studied writing in Columbus, Ohio, for 3 years, so I'm always glad to connect with Columbus. And this comes from Carrie V. And Carrie V asks, when are we supposed to use an a or an an before a word? And I think this is a wonderful question because it is uh, more complicated and more interesting than it may seem at first. What most of us were taught and may vaguely remember is that the article a goes before a word that begins with a consonant, and the article an goes before a word that begins with a vowel. So, for example, a flower. Flower begins with the consonant F, so we use A. Contrast that with, say, an apple. Apple begins with a vowel with the letter A, so we put AN in front of it instead of A. But that's only part of the actual rule. The actual rule is this: A goes before words that begin with a consonant sound, and An goes before words that begin with a vowel sound. And I'm glad that uh, we're able to talk about this in this call because we can start to listen to the sounds of the words. In fact, you may hear the sound of rain here because outside my cozy writing yurt, it's raining. So maybe the rain will help remind us that language is not just something we read on a page silently, but is also something we listen to and in fact embody with our own voices. So we have these two what are called indefinite articles, a and an. And the reason we have two of them is actually quite interesting. We have two of them to help our language flow more smoothly and, in fact, even more beautifully. Because language is not just a tool that we use to express ourselves, which, of course, is a very powerful purpose, but it is also a tool with which we use to express ourselves beautifully or powerfully or movingly or however it is we want to express ourselves. So a and an are two ways we make the language more musical, more melodious to our ear. So, in other words, the rule about whether to use a and an isn't simply about following some abstract grammatical rule. It's also about speaking more beautifully. So let's take a look at our first example. Flower. Join me in saying the word flower out loud. Go ahead and say it. Flower. Flower. Now say a flower. Notice how it flows fairly easily out of our mouth. A flower. A flower. Now try saying an flower. A-N flower. An flower. Notice how that N and that F sort of butt up against each other. They impede each other. See how awkward that is? That's why we use just the A in front of the consonant sound in flower, the F sound. Now, by contrast, say the word apple out loud. We can hear that the word apple begins with a vowel sound, ah. And then say an apple. An apple. Notice how the AN in front of apple gives it a certain musical quality. An apple. It's easy to say. Contrast that with a apple. A apple. Notice that we have to sort of stop our breath, stop our voice between the A and the apple. A apple. It's sort of jerky. A apple. An apple flows much more easily and is what people naturally do when they're speaking without worrying about grammatical rules. Now, let's go into more interesting territory. Say the word honor, Honor, out loud. Honor. And listen to that first sound. Honor. Is it a vowel sound or a consonant sound. Honor. You may notice that even though the first letter is an H, a consonant, the first sound is a vowel sound. Ah, honor, honor. Now, because the word begins with a vowel sound, we actually put an in front of it. So we have an honor, as in it would be an honor to meet you. An honor. Now contrast that with another H word, house. House. Here you can hear the H sound. It's not a silent H like in honor. Instead we have house. So because we can hear the consonant sound, we say instead a house. An house gets a little bit muddled in our mouths. A house. So we have a house and honor. And since we're talking about H words, we might as well look at the sort of most confusing seeming word of them all, or actually a pair of words or three words: history, historic, historical. Now, since we now have the actual rule, listen to those words: history, historic, historical. Notice that in all of those cases, we hear the consonant sound, we hear the H. And so all we really need is an A history, a historic victory, a historical society. In all three of those cases, we only need the A. Now, there was a period in the history of the English language when people thought we needed to put an AN in front of historical. And that may be because in their parts of the world, in their parts of England or other places, they didn't pronounce the H, or they didn't hear the H sound in historical. So it was more like historical. And then it would make sense to put an "an." So this one remains somewhat contested. However, more and more we see people just using the A in front of historical, history, and historic. And now you know the reason why. It has to do with the sounds of the words. Now, one last interesting example. Say the word unique out loud. Unique. Unique begins with a vowel, a U. However, if you listen to the word unique, you hear that the sound actually begins with the consonant sound Y. 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 Unique. And so, in front of the word unique, we only need the article a unique event, a unique recording, whatever the case may be. And we do that because although U is a vowel, in this case it's giving us a consonant sound. Same thing goes with the word utopia, or the word unicorn, which is a favorite word for people to talk about whether we need to have an A or an N. So with unicorn as well, the first sound of the word unicorn is a consonant sound, so you only need A, not An. So, Carrie, I hope that helps to answer your question. If you have any further questions, you can contact me, and I'll look forward to hearing from you.